Transatlantic Sports Show. Great to be back, and what a week to be back as well. The NFL Draft taking place, first round, this Thursday. And what a special week we've got lined up for you on the Transatlantic Sports Show. By the way, follow us on social media at TASS_UK. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We can find us at TASS_UK or the Transatlantic Sports Show. Of course, if you are watching us on YouTube and you want to listen to us on your podcast whilst you're out on your walk, your run, doing your chores, whatever, just search for the Transatlantic Sports Show on your favorite podcast provider. I'm your host, Anthony Wootton. You can also follow me on social media, well, on X at ARWootton. That is WOOTTON. And as I said, what a week we've got in store for you on the Transatlantic Sports Show. Great to be back with you. We're going to provide you with much more content over the next few weeks and right throughout the summer up until and including the new NFL season. We'll have some MLB content coming your way as well in due course, but this is all about the NFL Draft, and we're kicking off a special week of programs with a very special guest. We have one of the draft prospects this year. He's from a Big Ten team. That is Marcus Harper II. He is an offensive lineman from the Oregon Ducks. You may recall that we spoke to him 12 months ago. Well, we were looking ahead to the draft back then. Now he is part of the draft this time around. So what's it going to be like for one of these young men anticipating a call from an NFL team, realizing that your dreams are being made? That's what this show's all about over the next over the next week, the next couple of episodes that we have, because we've also got Jaw Joyner, who is a defensive end from Minnesota. He's going to be with us later on in the week. But this is all about Marcus Harper and the Oregon Ducks, the draft prospect. So let's get to it, shall we? Here's my special guest, Marcus Harper II. Now, delighted to say that joining me is a special guest who some of you may remember 12 months ago had joined us here on the Transatlantic Sports Show. We were looking back at the NFL Draft that time, the 2024 NFL Draft that was, of course, and we're discussing some of his former Oregon Ducks teammates. Well, now this offensive lineman, Marcus Harper II, it's all about him as far as he's concerned, because he is part of the NFL Draft for 2025, which is just a few days away. I can't imagine how he's feeling. But Marcus, welcome back to the show. Delighted to have you with us. I said I can't imagine how you're feeling. How are you feeling, man?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I can't pinpoint one emotion that I'm feeling. I felt every emotion. I've been happy. I've been sad. I've been anxious. I've been nervous. I've been excited, scared. I've kind of been through the whole roller coaster of emotions. But I mean, right now, just my most consistent is just calm and peaceful, honestly. I can't really worry about, what happened in the past. I know I put my best foot forward, whatever knowledge I knew at the time being. And then also, too, like, I know that I have no control over the future. So I do my best to, dominate where I'm at right now. And, just train out here in Houston, Texas, training with my trainers out here. And just, all the thing I know how to do is get better. So make sure I'm better for when my name is called.
Yeah, keep working all that nervous energy, eh? That's what you got to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Do you have like last year we discussed some of your former Ducks teammates who'd gone through the draft. Have you reached out, or have any of your former teammates who are in the NFL, have they spoken to any of you guys who are going to go? You're in the draft process, giving you any tips or advice, or any, even going back further, I guess some former Oregon Ducks, did they come and offer advice to you guys, you young men?
Yeah, I've asked a lot of people. I've asked Bo Nix, like, what's kind of like been your biggest like surreal moment, and he was just like, it's in the league. But he also said it's a long year. I've had some long years at Oregon, so my hope is to kind of make that same relatability between how long Oregon's schedule was to the NFL. But I mean, shoot, he just said just enjoy it, and I've heard along the lines like everyone's draft process is different. No one's process is, I guess you could say, better or worse than the next man's. It's just unique to, you and your story and things like that. So it's, I've just been, honing in on my process and enjoying it the best way I know how. And, just been focusing on what I can control in the moment. That's the only thing I can do.
Yeah. How's your family? Because, you said this is your moment. This is your story. So, you're paving the way for your career, and your NFL dreams are about to come true, but you know, the dreams as well for your family would have invested so much time into your football career, and here you are on the cusp of the NFL.
Yeah, they're a ball of excitement. They're asking me, every day, if not every other day, like, has anyone called? Has any, any new updates? And I kind of just let them just wonder because, there's a lot that goes into this. There's things where it's just like they have their version of excitement, and I let them have that. But I know for me, like, what kind of keeps me like neutral, things like that, because at the end of the day, like, yes, a lot of teams can be interested, but who's going to pull the trigger and say, okay, we see the need for you and what you bring to the table is important. So I feel like my excitement is going to be a lot more delayed, but theirs is a lot more front loaded. And, they're just happy again. They've seen me from when I was yay high, and now that I'm grown, I'm a little bit more of a young adult, and they just see me and, the opportunity that's ahead of me. No one could have really even thought it was going to come to this, but now that it's here, it's just love and support. And so that's all I can ask for.
That's so cool. You know, you did a big move, didn't you? Moving from you Illinois based, right? So you
Yeah.
moved out west to Oregon. So you know you've up sticks and left home as far as that's concerned. You know, it's more than 1,000 miles away, isn't it? You know, going from the
Yeah.
Midwest out there to the West Coast. So you've done that big move. Speaking of your folks, I guess in that Illinois area, are they Chicago Bears fans? Are they kind of hoping that the Bears come calling, or I guess they'll be
Yeah.
open for whoever you
Yeah.
end up with, right?
Yeah, so when I went, I had to work out with the Bears. I would say maybe 2 weeks ago, and my
Hmm.
mom, because the facility is maybe like 2 hours from my front door, so my mom was just already planning. She was like, "Yeah, if the Bears come calling, I'll be up for Thanksgiving, for Halloween, for Christmas," and I'm like, "No, you're not." But yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Oh man, that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah,
That's brilliant. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
talk to us about your football career today, because you're quite the athlete. I remember talking last year to you, and obviously people can go back and listen or watch that on the Transatlantic Sports Show. But what's got you to this point where you are now, the week of the NFL draft?
yeah. I mean, I've always just had a level of athleticism, and that's helped carry me throughout high school and college. And as college has gotten a little bit more, or as I've gotten older, honing in more on my technique and perfecting my technique. And so you mix my athleticism mixed with like purposeful and intentional movements is where I'm at now in my career. And just making sure that like I'm making the most efficient movement as possible, so I'm not wasting any movement, no energy, things of that nature. Um, and it's been carrying me well. There are a lot of guys who, they have this epiphany that they could always be athletic, but at some point in time, the athleticism is going to run out, and you're going to have to rely on technique. So, excuse me, I'm just ingraining technique into myself so early, so that way, whenever my athleticism does, it doesn't run as efficient as I would like it to, I still got a bag of technique that I can run into, and help me just play my game like I know I want to.
Yeah, that's really cool. You said that you've met and you've spoken with the Bears. Any other teams you've spoken with that you're happy to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken with the 49ers, the Raiders, Seahawks, I would say who else? Like I said, the Bears, um, the Saints, kind of just been all over the place, really. So, and I know there are a lot of guys who, I've heard you can talk to all these teams, and then there's a team completely swings the pendulum and pulls trigger on you. So, I honestly don't know where I'm going to go, but I know that the people and the organization that invest in Marcus Harper II, they know what they're getting through and through.
That's awesome. Yeah, look, hey, if you do end up with the Bears, I was with the Bears just a few weeks ago. They're
Yeah,
invested heavily in the UK market. So here's
yeah,
hoping. If you're there,
yeah,
we'll be able to meet in
yeah,
person at some point. But look, we don't want to predict the future, and
yeah.
it's a big week ahead for you. With the Oregon Ducks, of course, 2024 was also a big year for transition because they joined the Big Ten. How did you find that? Last year, because you've been with the Ducks and you're used to the Pac-12, and there was the big move last year, wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I was ecstatic because I was like, okay, now my family gets to come see me play.
Of
The years
course, yeah.
prior, it was maybe only 2 games that they came to out of the entire, 2 years I was playing because, just West Coast travel is not, the greatest coming from Chicago out there. And then, most of your teams are going to be in, Washington or Seattle or, Washington, Oregon or California, maybe a neighboring state in Arizona. So that's just a lot to just, in the middle of, October, November, December, just pick up and, hey, let's, go out here. So, when I seen that schedule and I seen where some of those away games were, I've been on some of these drives. I know how far they are from my front door, so it was great to go back home and just have and go back to a conference that I'm used to watching, growing up when I did get into football, and just having my parents and my family come out and support me was just, it was great. Like, for my last season, we went into the Big Ten, kicked the doors down, and, my family was able to come see me. Like, I was ecstatic. I was happy that they got to see that last year of college football for me, and just to get to experience some of those, moments with me.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. There you are. Of course, you're Midwest boy. So Big Ten comes calling. You're like, hey, yeah, here we are. That's awesome. Yeah, it
Yeah.
didn't even sink in there. Factor that in. That's great. That's like a massive, massive swing in difference.
Yeah.
For you and your family, which is really, really cool. So big week this week. You've got a lot of nervous energy, of course. How are you keeping yourself calm? I know that you said you're there in Houston, you're working out, etc. But you can't be working out all the time. So what do you do? How are you just keeping calm and level headed? And on top of things.
I'm honestly, so this is going to be so kind of contradictory to what I kind of preach, because I'm always learning and trying to better myself and, be intentional and intentful with everything I'm doing. But I felt the best thing in this process is just to honestly just unplug, because, I don't know how every other prospect is going, but your mind is racing about the possibilities of who, what, where, when, why, how, that whole gambit of questions of like, who's going to pick me up? Why are they doing this? Why aren't they, doing this? So I felt like the best thing for me to do during this time is just unplug and kind of not care, So I've been on the game a lot. Don't game as much, but I feel like this is a great time for me to just unplug my brain and kind of just, calm down. So I bought Assassin's Creed a couple months ago, the Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I've been watching that. I got back into WWE. I wasn't watching WWE a lot in college just because, just time just wasn't permissible. So I'm back in the WWE. I was watching WrestleMania last night. Kind of got to see that. And honestly, just been talking to a lot of my friends that's going to be in Chicago. They've been checking in on me, seeing how I'm doing. And just talking to like my friends and family. That's really been it. Honestly, just if I'm not working out, I'm playing the game or talking to them, and kind of just going forward with life. Just getting everything situated, man.
Watching WWE, who knows? George Kittle, he was there. He could be a future teammate.
Yeah, I know,
dude.
Man. Yeah.
What do you think of John Cena, man?
Hey, I think for story purposes, I understand why he's doing what he's doing. Me personally, like, I see his perspective through and through. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that we as fans have treated him the best because he's been the most consistent and most loyal WWE superstar, I feel like, in the past 10 years since he's been around. So I see the reason why he turned heel. It was very different to watch his matches last night. I'm so used to the kind of the high motor, the high, fast Johnson. Now it's just like, it was more controlled, it was more slow, and all these other different things. I'm actually more excited for Raw tonight. They got the Raw after WrestleMania. That's always been the biggest turnout after WrestleMania. So, man, one of these years I'm gonna have to go to a WrestleMania, man, for sure. That's a bucket list of mine, to go to WrestleMania and sit, up front and experience that for sure.
Oh, I saw Stone Cold back in the day, man. They came over to England and we saw them in Manchester. Yeah. Stone Cold, Triple H was there. Oh, dude, it's such a good event, man. John Cena, I just can't help seeing Daddy's Home too. That's what's this guy doing?
Yeah.
Hey, look, who's gonna have your phone? Of course, you're gonna have your phone. I mean, are you telling people keep the phone line clear this weekend coming up?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do? Do you get a burner phone? Do you give out a number to the teams? How are you going to operate that?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have someone hold my phone at all times. I really don't want to be looking at my phone unless it's something very, very important I got to attend to. But if it's not the call, I don't want no one. I don't want to be scrolling through my phone. Really, I kind of just enjoy the moment because it's 3 days. 3 days, just intense. Like every minute feels like a year.
Yeah.
And I kind of just want to just relax. Like I'm having a party. And then honestly, I just want to unplug and just kind of just do what I've been doing. Like play some games, play some Uno, kind of just have a real chill feeling. I have been on watching things like that, but I really just want to just chill and just have fun. And just enjoy this time because it only happens once in a lifetime. And yeah, I really don't want nobody looking at my phone. I don't want to touch my phone.
I like that, Marcus. Yeah, that's a good perspective. It's like it's once in a lifetime thing. You're living the moment because before you know it, you're getting down and like the hard work then starts, doesn't it? So just soak it up while you can and just savor every single moment of it. You mentioned Bo Nix earlier, and I know that we discussed him last year. He'd just been drafted, of course, by the Denver Broncos, and you said that you were confident that he had a very good future ahead of him, and you waxed lyrical about your former quarterback there. How impressed were you with his rookie season? I mean, I don't think anybody expected that. Maybe you did.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know. I heard that rookie transition is it's very treacherous, I would say. But I knew Bo was a pro before he was even drafted. I was his locker mate when he was up at Oregon, so I see how diligent he worked and relentless how he worked day in and day out. So to see the byproduct of that, I wasn't shocked by one of those any production that he put out there his first year. I was honestly thinking he was going to win Rookie of the Year, but honestly, like he didn't get the Rookie of the Year. That means he got something better coming down the line for him and things like that. And he's always been a great person to me. I've always liked talking to him just periodically whenever he gets a chance to look at his phone. Just always just reaching out to him, just giving him a small little thing. And yeah, I'm excited for him and excited for what he has going over there in that organization, him and Troy. And yeah,
Absolutely. And the fact that he helped lead the team to the postseason as well, which was very impressive rookie campaign for Bo Nix there. Sorry to bring this up, but last year as well, there were some tragic circumstances surrounding the Oregon Ducks. We were talking about Kyrie Jackson just after he'd been drafted, and I relayed some of the interview that I had with him just as he'd been drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, and then in July, just before training camp, tragically was killed in a car crash. How did that affect you and your teammates at that time? Because nobody can foresee anything like that. It was just horrendous circumstances.
Yeah, it's kind of the weird feeling. I would say it sucks, but that wasn't the first time I've had a teammate pass, or was able to what passed. It's just, you cherish your relationships that you make in the locker room a lot more. People outside of your position group, I cherish those relationships a hell of a lot more now than anything because, again, like Kyrie was a DB and we were in the same hallway of locker rooms. And, we were talking from time to time, just passing by, always respecting him. He always respected me. He always just good stories about what it was like at family and, all these different things, when he was there. And, you just never know when someone's time is up. So, I always try to make a point to, I already know I'm going to make, men's with offensive line, but try to stretch myself out and kind of just extend myself and talk to someone that's not a O-lineman, a quarterback, DB, receiver, linebacker. Because, again, those guys, they got their own thing going on, and you just never know. Like, we take this life stuff for granted sometimes, but we just, we get breath, we get fresh air pumped into our lungs every day. God blesses us. And, sometimes, not everyone has that benefit, So just taking care of and making sure you stay close to people that you're around when you have them, because you never know when they're not going to be there.
Yeah, he seemed like a really nice guy as well, a real fun human being. Part of his draft story was that he missed the call first off because he wasn't expecting the call to happen. I think he was out shopping in a shopping mall at the time, and he shared that story very openly and honestly that he'd missed the initial call from the Vikings when he was drafted, and it's just a real tragic loss. That unfortunately Kyrie Jackson, we never got to see him play in the NFL. I did ask him a question about the potentially coming over to London because the Vikings played over here last October, but a real sad loss. I mean, it's hard, difficult to transition from that to looking ahead to the draft. But as an offensive lineman, is there a player that as you were growing up, someone that you look to as a source of inspiration, an offensive lineman that you may model your game on?
Yeah, there were a lot. Honestly, once I got into football and kind of started doing my deep dive, it was I always looked at those Dallas Cowboys, those games, those years when they were dominant. They went on like 3-peat. So Larry Allen honestly was a focal point when in high school. Him and there's a guard in Kansas City right now, Trey Smith. Those two were the guys who I always looked to, just their dominance and how they used to play the game of football. God rest his soul, Larry Allen, he said he tried to pass last year, at age 52 years young, but him, I was saying Trey Smith were two guys when I first got into football. I was like, okay, they play the game the right way. This is how you need to monitor your game afterwards. So I would say those two were guys, and even Tyron Smith from time to time, but those guys, those guys were you want to talk about playing the game at a high level for, the right way, those three for sure.
Very good. Well, look, I won't keep you much longer. I know you got to get back to Assassin's Creed and give that a good going. Keep yourself calm between now and draft time. But can you believe it's here, man? I mean, it just comes around so quick, blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Well, Marcus Harper II, good luck to you. All right. I'll be keeping a keen eye on you, and I'm sure everybody listening and watching the Transatlantic Sports Show will be rooting for you as well. And hopefully, at some point, we'll see you over here playing in London, dude. That would be awesome.
Absolutely. Let's get that done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There goes my thanks to Marcus Harper II. Make sure you follow him on social media, and you can follow his story throughout the NFL draft. Good luck to him. We can't wait to follow his success throughout his NFL career. And you can say that you saw and heard him here first on the Transatlantic Sports Show. And if you like that content and you want more draft prospects, we got more coming your way later in the week. Jaw Joyner, defensive end from Minnesota. He's going to be with me looking ahead to the draft as well. Another draft prospect coming here on the Transatlantic Sports Show. So make sure you follow us on social media at TASS_UK. The next week, we will recap the draft and we'll discuss the winners and losers from the NFL draft. That's what we're here for on the Transatlantic Sports Show. Like I said, it's great to be back with you. We've got plenty of great guests and some really good content coming your way. So please hit like and subscribe. Subscribe to us on YouTube and also follow us on social media and through your favorite podcast provider. I'm your host, Anthony Wootton. Coming up soon will be our exclusive interview with the draft prospect defensive end from Minnesota, Jaw Joyner. But until next time,